How about Shimmy Hawashah Barakatah? Welcome to the Lion's Den. This episode of Lion's Den is brought to you by Common Sense. I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Also, shout out to Yah World 777, House of Redeemed Servants, my camp FOPE, Black Jesus Ministry, and all the other collaborators that's clicked with the Lion's Den Debate League. All right? Hey, Jesus Black. This episode of Lion's Den, once again, is brought to you by Common Sense. I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Hey, today I'm going to be bringing out I got to put on my Black Grinch outfit. I'm the Black Grinch that saved your black ass from Christmas. That's what's going on today in the Lion's Den Academy of Education and Information. You know what I mean? That's what's going down today. The last year when I tried to do this episode, they kicked me off Facebook. I don't care. I got about 4 or 5 pages. You're just going to have to kick me off again, god dang it. Because I know you don't want to hear the truth. But I'm the Black Grinch that saved your black ass from Christmas. All right, let me get a little something, read a little something to you, then we're going to get to the video, see? We're going to talk about Santeria. We're going to talk about Yuletides. We're going to talk about the orgies they have around this time of year. We're going to talk about obelisk, all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's my catchphrase, Jesus Black. You know how it go down. All right. Now, Christmas is the pagan roots of winter holidays. Let me just read a little something to you about a paragraph or two, then we're going to get into it, all right? Now, people are super sensitive when it comes to Christmas. You know, much of the world has been taught that the holiday marks the birth of the Savior, Yeshua HaMashiach. You know, but to be honest, he wasn't even born in the winter. You see what I'm saying? Historical evidence suggests that Yeshua, or what the word English calls Jesus, was born in the springtime. See, you're messing up already. But what Christian missionaries adopted Yule celebrations in order to appease pagans, to convert pagans who were deeply spiritually attached to their own holidays. See? Early Christians were also fascinated by the rural, rustic pagan traditions. All right? Christians at that period are quite interested in paganism, says Philip Shaw, a researcher of the early Germanic languages and Old English at Leicester University. It's obviously something that they think is a bad thing, but it's also something they think is worth remembering. It's what their ancestors did. All right? Now look. Now come on into the Lion's Den, everybody. This episode of Lion's Den is called The Black Grinch That Saved Your Black Ass from Christmas. That's me. Last year they kicked me off for doing this. I got 4 or 5 pages. I'm loaded up this year. You can take this one. I don't even care. You see what I'm saying? I'm loaded. I wasn't ready for him last year. I'm ready for you to kick me off this year, Jack. I ain't even worried about you. Now, the two most notable pagan winter holidays are the Germanic Yule and the Roman Saturnalia. Christian missionary gave these holidays a makeover. They're now known as Christmas. You see? They're now known as Christmas. Let me show you something, man. Okay, now see, this is what we got here. This is they had gay orgies and all type of old weird stuff going on. You can sleep with whoever you want to on Santeria. That's what's going down. Come on in, Angie Hernandez, Moshe Akai Yehuda, Jesus Black. Come on in. Welcome back home, y'all. Welcome to the Lion's Den. Now, look at this. Santeria was a lawless, drunken time in Rome where literally anything goes. I mean, you can sleep with animals. You can sleep with your best friend. I don't care who. If it's a male, female, you can do what you want. I mean, just this lawlessness. You know, bust somebody upside the head, they don't care. You know, this was the original purge, Jack, in which laws were suspended. So, I mean, you can go kill somebody if you want to. For a brief stretch of time, Saturn, the Roman god of agriculture, liberation, and time, and parties was celebrated at what is perhaps the most famous of the Roman festivals, the Santeria. Santeria. It was a time of feasting Role reversals. Role reversals. So some of these guys are running around like some sissy puffs. You know what I'm saying? Role reversals, free speech. You can cuss your mama and daddy out if you felt like it. The kids could. You know? Gift giving and, look, gender bending, sex, drinking, telling people off, trading gifts, doing whatever you want. You see? This the spirit. This is the spirit that was lingering around. You see? After the winter solstice, the darkest night of the year, the renewal of the new year was celebrated in the later Roman Empire at the Dies Natalis or Sol Invictus, the birthday. Come on, y'all, I ain't got time for all this. The birthday of the unconquerable sun on December 25th. I'm gonna read you one more. We're gonna get the video started. Come on in, Bowls. This episode is the Black Grinch that saved your black ass from Christmas. If you ain't black, hey, you getting saved too. I don't care what color you is. I'm trying to get the information out. You know what I'm saying? Now, scholars have connected the German. This is by Yule. I'm gonna teach you something today. Scholars have connected the Germanic and Scandinavian celebration of the wild hunt and the god Odin and the pagan Anglo-Saxon Morderhint. A Yuletide was traditionally celebrated during the period from mid-November to mid-January. Nordic countries use Yule to describe their own Christmas and was religious rites, but also for the holidays of the season, present-day customs such as Yule log, Yule goat, Yule boar, Yule singing, and others stem from the original pagan Yule, but are used in Christmas celebration now, especially within Europe. All leaders were baptized and converted. They shifted their traditional celebrations covertly as not to upset the chieftains. Yule was traditionally celebrated 3 days after midwinter, but shifted to reflect Christian dates. Modern Wiccans, y'all. Y'all know what the Wiccans is, right? They witches. All right, just to let you know. And other neo-pagan religions often celebrated Yule as well. In most forms of Wicca, is celebrated at winter solstice as the rebirth of the great horned god who is viewed as a newborn solstice sun. Some celebrate with their covens while others celebrate it at home. We're gonna stop there for a minute. We're gonna get the video going. Let me get a few of y'all up in here, up in the den, and we're gonna get it. We're gonna kick it off. You know. Oh, let me see what we got here, man. See something? Okay, yeah, let me get a few of y'all up in here. Yeah, this episode of Lions Den is called The Black Grinch That Saved Your Black Ass from Christmas. Like I said, last year they kicked me off Facebook for bringing out this information. I'm ready for you this year. This is one of my throwaway pages. It's like a them throwaway phones. You can get rid of this one. I'm still coming back. You know what I'm saying? Hey, 7,000 still coming back, man. I'm not playing with y'all. I'm sick of Facebook trying to restrict people's freedom of speech. You know, don't get mad at me because the truth coming out. It is what it is. See, some people don't want to hear this. We just doing this for the kids. Well, at least know the origins of what's going on. Can you at least do that? I mean, that's what I'm talking about, man. Come on. Get a few more of y'all up in here, Jack. Hold up. About 10 more. The rest of y'all catch the rerun. You know how we do. Yeah, let's see. Hold up. All right. Rest of y'all catch the rerun. We finna get this going. It's about a 45-minute video. It's gonna show you some very informative information. You know, share the video. You know, everyone needs to be aware. To be aware is to be alive. You know what I'm saying? All right. I'll be back. Got something to do. Okay, Jesus back. Come on back. All right. What the hell going on? All right. Let's get it going. Santeria, Nimrod, Tammuz, Saturn worship. All right, here we go.
Today in Vatican City, they're holding a celebration of the birth of the Roman Catholic Sun-Child. The first thing I find interesting is that they've actually placed the depiction directly underneath the Star of Ishtar, the Eastern Star of the mystery religions. If that isn't blatant enough, you can see that the star is being propped up by an Egyptian obelisk. So straight off you can see that this is a counterfeit copy, a mirror of the real thing. Then of course you've got this giant Kabbalistic tree, and also accompanied by other ancient symbology that should make it absolutely clear that this represents the birth of the sun god of the Babylonian mystery schools. The feast of the Immaculate Conception that took place just a day before this festival is simply a code for the birth of the Antichrist, or the ripping of the dimensional veil.
And I saw a star fallen from heaven to earth, and he was given the key to the shaft of the bottomless pit. He opened the bottomless pit, and from the shaft rose smoke like the smoke of a great furnace.
Contessa Lena, il tuo onlus, è per me un onore. È dal 1982 che San Giovanni Paolo II, permettetemi di congratulare a nome di tutti, alla città del Vaticano e ai fedeli di tutto il mondo, questo grande albero dei nostri amici di Malta. Questo albero proviene dai boschi di una delle tante valli del Trentino.
Birth of Tammuz. See? The Black Pope. What y'all know about the Black Pope?
Vatican City. It's about 11 o'clock at night. So I decided to come back and investigate some more of the symbology. And the point of making these videos is really to warn Catholics, which I want to do more, you know, because there are real Christians in the Catholic Church who are deceived. And this is maybe one of the ways that can help break the brainwashing. The fact that there is hidden agendas going on. And it's not worth getting too deep into that, because it's not deep. This is the things of this world, and the things of the enemy are not the deep things. The truly deep things are what it's copying. The truly deep things are the things of God. And why do you think they keep constantly mirroring and copying and inverting these things to? Because it's a religion that is actually at its very heart with the Jesuit conspiracies at the top levels and secret societies. They're trying to break the veil and bring through the Antichrist, like we see in the book of Revelation. It's code for Revelation 9, the Immaculate Conception. Don't forget, when you look at this from above, cradle right now. This circular shape is like a cradle. So don't you think it's ironic that they have the birth of the false Christ in the middle of this cradle of filth, cup of filth, you know, abominations, the things that are exposed about this area. Cradle of filth, think about it. And this whole thing here that I'm standing on is a clock, the sundial. So this is a representation of time, cracking through time, through the veil of time and space. So we're in the middle of a sundial, and we've got the birth of Christ cracking through time. What does that tell you? It's that false Hegelian battle of light and dark that they use for defeating the dragon. And it's all a counterfeit of the real Christ. They're just copying and mirroring and using this as a masquerade. So as I was saying, there's always two sides to the same coin, and there's a hidden side and a side that's in view, esoteric and exoteric. So the public are told that this is about Malta and a vicar going to Malta. But I ask you, you see the big Maltese cross, which is essentially the Jesuits and the Knights of Malta and all that. But my question to you, as we know that there's some hidden sides to this, do you think that this is representing the Black Pope, the Vicar of Christ, herald the birth of Nimrod, the Antichrist? And remember, the obelisk represents an antennae, so harvesting energy for the conjuring up of this. And you know, this has been the ultimate goal all through these many centuries and centuries since Babylon. The ultimate goal has been to do this, piercing the firmament, the Tower of Babel. We shall be like God. This is the ultimate goal of the mystery schools. So what you're seeing here is a masquerade as Christians.
You see, they had that obelisk in Washington, Washington, D.C., the Vatican, and in London. Y'all see that?
Christianity. And that obelisk represents the phallic with the circumcision of ancient Egypt, the false circumcision, the synagogue of Satan. To say they are Christians but do lie.
To say that they are
This is all part of the ancient
Hebrew,
history schools
not Christian.
of Babylon. It goes back to Babylon and Egypt. What does the Bible tell us about those? I'm sorry to say, but there's really nothing else to it. This whole place is a giant keyhole. Freemasonry, Illuminati, Enlightenment, all of that. Essentially Gnostic religion, which is, and Babylon, which is clearly against God, clearly against Christ, Antichrist. This is the fundamental truth to what all of this is representing and leading towards. And I just ask you, if you truly love God, get out of it while you can, because there is massive deception coming.
Satan, the father of lies.
Because we don't celebrate the ancient pagan festival of Saturnalia. Look, Nimrod was deified as the sun. Nimrod was deified as the son. All sun deities are Babel formed of Nimrod's name. All sun deities' birthdays were celebrated. Once again, Nimrod was deified. Nimrod was deified as the sun. All sun deities are babbled forms of Nimrod's name. All sun deities' birthdays are celebrated. You see? Let's keep it moving. Tammuz. That's Tammuz. See?
The ancient religion of Babylon. They all have one thing in common. The sacred feminine. The sacred feminine. The sacred feminine. Ishtar, the Babylonians. Tyre, the Buddhism. Fatima, Muhammad. Sophia, the Gnostics. Shekinah to the Kabbalist Jew, Mary to the Catholic, and Shakti to the Hindu. These all have one thing in common, the sacred feminine. And the sacred feminine is going to take you back to the source of light, because the light that resides in that place that Plato talked about, you need a path to get back to that light. Listen, this is important. She is the one to take you to that light. Now, I'm going to give you a guess. Tell me this morning, who do you think that light is? You remember what this subject's all about? Lucifer. He's the light bearer.
Look at that, Baphomet. Mary of Cosmos.
Look there, we've got the same kind of symbology on a Catholic basilica, which is kind of ironic. I'm here today at Washington DC with this big shrine to the Catholic Church here of the Immaculate Conception to have a deeper look at what it's all about. An eerie place. So let's go down into the belly, the underworld, where masses take place, into the heart, underneath this, the tomb of this huge temple. I mean, we're underground right now. This is underground, this isn't the belly, underneath the big temple. So much symbology in here. The National Shrine of Immaculate Conception. The birth pangs, New Age, of abominations, ecumenical, one world, under Rome. It's like an expensive hotel, one of those 5-star ones in Vegas. I mean, if that's the mother, Europa. And look at him, I mean, he's bowing. I've heard so many say they don't revere Mary in that way, the false Mary. But he's bowing to this Ishtar, Isis figure.
coming out of the feminine gate, birthing. I'm sure I don't really need to say too much. It's already pretty obvious what that represents. Well, and there's that hexagon again. This same symbolism, just like the Star of David. The hexagon like we saw in the other place.
What's up, Matt?
The hexagon with mother and child coming
Shalom.
through. And like the reference to the
Welcome to the
Black
awakening.
Sun.
You're gonna learn today, Matt. If you got that Christmas
Saturn,
tree up,
just
tear
like
it down.
NASA have recently
You gotta tear it
shown
down.
the
Right now,
hexagon,
you see
Saturn,
this.
and all that. And look, the heart, connection to the heart of the earth. Heart of Mary, pray for us. So often I think it's like that birthing of that Tammuz, Nimrod, Antichrist figure from the heart of the earth, which they call Gaia, like the mother goddess Gaia. So I wonder if it's a reference to the Ishtar Babylonian false religion, and this is their belief system I'm speaking about here. And the references to Saturn, six-sided shape, the Antichrist, the birth of the Antichrist, the copy of the true Messiah, but this is the inverted, the false one. So there's always parallels and mirrors to the real truth. It's just that this goes back to Egypt, Babylon, and there's always been usurping authority, as I said, usurping authority from the real legitimate Messiah, the real legitimate truth that we can read in the New Testament. This is how they are doing it, and always have done it. This is the plan all along. The fallen plan, the kingdom of darkness, our enemy, to usurp and trick and mirror and copy, to mislead people. No pillars and archways, all the same designs as the other places, and she's sitting on a foundation stone there, behind these pillars where the veil would be, like in the Holy of Holies again. The Mother Goddess, Semiramis, Diana and Child, the false Mary. Oh my goodness. And once again, you see IXXI, which is Roman numerals for 9/11, on the cup. The Frankists and other, there is this belief that they need to fill up this cup of sin, make people turn to bad, which you can see happening, in order to provoke their Christ to come, which they think is the real Christ. They believe they need to fill up this cup of filth, this cup of abomination, as we're told about in the Bible, that will happen. The cup of abominations that will bring judgment upon the world. But they believe that they're going to get this Christ who's going to come. But we know it's the Antichrist. It's Nimrod from the days of the Tower of Babel. And this cup of abominations. Mate. You know, even I've heard Catholics say that this Pope is very different from any other. The way he's uniting religions and one world, ecumenical.
Hey, y'all think that Pope's something else? Let me teach you something about the Black Pope. This the Black Pope. What y'all know about the Black Pope? Let me tell you a little something about the Black Pope. This Pope ain't got nothing on the Black Pope. All right? He is the most powerful man on earth who rules over maritime law as businesses. He controls the banking system, Freemasonry, and the Secret Service and CIA, FBI, NSA, SIS, M16, Scotland Yard, Mossad, CSIS, DGSE, FSB. The Vatican owns 60% of all Israel land and the land of the Temple Mount for their third Solomon's Temple, where they want to throne is part of the Acarium controlled by the papal bloodlines within the Imori, I-M-O-R-I. These bloodlines are the mega point of control. These are the Famis, Orsini, Aldabrini, Sangilia, and Breakspear. Their one-room command center is within the Borgo Santo Spirito, which is missile protected. Victor Emmanuel IV wanted to nuke the region of Rome. Henry Breakspear and Pepe Orsino are in high control. Jesuit Assisary soldier James Groomer controls the United States Corporation. Now, the Black Pope Alfredo Nicholas, this is him, the Black Pope, General of the Society of Jesus' Diabolical Plan of the New World Order, the Superior General of the Jesuits, the Black Pope Alfredo Nicholas, and his 6 generals control the White Pope. That's Pope Benedict of the Vatican, that clown right there. The Illuminati and Zionists, the globalist elites, the Council of Foreign Relations, Bilderberg groups, Freemasons, Council 300, and the evil Councils of Trent. 3. The Jesuits control the Knights Templars, Knights of Columbus, and the Knights of Malta. 4. They control the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the ASIO, the M15, the M16, the NCIS, the FSB, the DGSE, Mossad, and every intelligence agency in the world are Masonic controlled by the Jesuits. The Jesuits have infiltrated the governments and leaders like Obama, Rudd Blair, Ginto, Sarkozy, Pierce, and only puppets that carry out Jesuit orders. Superior generals are elected to the general congregation of the society. Just like I told y'all, presidents are selected, not elected. Get that through your damn head. When you're going out voting, you're just practicing. Point blank, period. That shit don't count. You can go out there and do all this you want and put your little ballot in. They already got who they want in line. Trust and believe that. Let's keep it moving. You're going to learn today at the Lions Den Academy of Education and Information. Real talk. But let's just let you know a little something about the Black Pope. Let's continue with the video. This guy ain't got nothing on the Black Pope.
New World Order. You know, the Jezebel spirit usurps authority where it has none. I was thinking about this the other day. It usurps authority where it has none. And this is kind of the way this new ecumenical religion, Babylonian New Age religion is working. Usurping authority over where it has none. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Usurping authority over the man, over Jesus, the true King.
Hey, Sister
Queen.
Tracy.
Usurping
Sister Karima, how y'all doing?
illegitimate authority.
I see y'all. Yeah, he ain't got nothing on the Black Pope.
She is the one to take you to that light.
See?
Who do you think that light is? Lucifer.
There you go. All trails lead back to Lucifer. You best believe that. I think that the Catholics has got something to do with Yeshua, Hamashiach. That's a damn lie. I just want to let you know.
Please do not tell me this is not an ornate temple of Diana.
Temple of Diana in the Catholic Church,
Mother
y'all.
Goddess.
The Mother Goddess. See? Y'all thinking that's Mary and Yeshua? No, that's the Mother Goddess. Diana.
The celebration of fertility.
So, yep, so celebration of fertility. See? This whole time y'all like that. Oh, look at Mary and baby Jesus. Nah, nigga.
Tammuz.
Birth of Tammuz. The Antichrist. Right in your Catholic church.
This, or you call her that, or you call her this, or you call her that. She's the same wherever you go.
There you go.
She is the Mother of God. She's the universal life force. Satan is very good at accommodating whatever culture, whatever age, whatever clime you happen to be in. Making a difference to him. He's very good at accommodating it. What I simply mean by that is he'll make you feel comfortable wherever you live in accepting his religion.
Yeah.
See, look, even here it's saying to receive the scroll and to break open its seals. Oh my goodness, I didn't even realise this was here. I used this picture in a video the other day.
Look at that.
That is Apollyon the Destroyer.
Look at that. Look at that, y'all. Apollyon the Destroyer. You see? You go in here, you're peeking around thinking you're looking at white Jesus. No. That's Apollyon the Destroyer they got up in the Vatican. But you go in there and a lot of these Christians and Catholics go in here thinking, oh, look at Jesus holding his hands up. All right, I'm back. All right, yeah. See, look at this, y'all. You've been deceived. You've been bamboozled. You've been hoodwinked. That's what's going on. Look at that.
And we've got that same representation of the Holy of Holies.
Look at that. At the Holy of Holies, y'all.
Him raising out
You gotta be ashamed of yourself.
Apollyon the Destroyer. The Antichrist. That is not Jesus. I don't think it takes much to work out that that's not Jesus. That is not Jesus. Apollyon the Destroyer. The Antichrist.
We continue our coverage this morning of Pope Francis in America with Nora at the White House. Nora?
Thank you, Gail. You know, Pope Francis is also going to celebrate his first Mass in the United States, and that is at the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. Now, he is the third Pope to visit the Basilica that is on the Catholic University of America campus. And Chip Reed is there to show us what to expect this afternoon. Chip, good morning.
Well, good morning.
Okay,
You know,
I'm
around
back.
here, most people simply call it the Shrine. I mean, it is a beautiful building. It is the largest
Look at that.
Roman Catholic church in America.
Look at that. Rome
In fact,
Solar
we're
Mass
expecting about
to Apollyon.
25,000
See that?
people here this afternoon to see and hear the Pope celebrate Mass.
The Greek tongue, half is the name of Apollyon. Revelation 9, verse 11. And wicked. Birth of Tammuz. Look at it. That's the black pope, y'all. You see? You've been bamboozled. You've been hoodwinked. Lucifer. Lucy. Look at that. Oh, let me read y'all something real quick. The cultic background of Nimrod. Tradition suggests that Nimrod died a violent death. One tradition says that a wild animal killed him. Another says that Shem killed him because he had led the people into the worship of Baal. According to the ancient Egyptians and Babylonian traditions, his mother was Semiramis. Sometimes Semiramis is referred to as the mother Nimrod and sometimes as his wife, right? Leading to the belief that Nimrod married his mama. Also, according to the tradition, Semiramis, who rose to greatness because of her son, was presented with the difficulty when her son died. So instead, she pronounced him to be a god so that she herself would become a goddess. You see? One story says that after Nimrod was killed, Semiramis claimed that the evergreen tree, you see? The evergreen tree that you getting ready to bow down to and pick your presents up to, Dwight Simmons. Hey, shalom, Mark. Shalom, family. But the evergreen tree sprouted out from a tree stump and indicated the entry of new life into the deceased Nimrod. You see, every year on the anniversary of Nimrod's birth, December 25th, they would leave gifts to this evergreen tree. So you're gonna learn the history and origins of this type of year, these holidays that we have been that's been passed down to us. We don't even, a lot of us, when I believed in that stuff back then when I was growing up, well, really I didn't, but that's another story for another day. But my family did. I came up as a Jehovah's Witness, so they didn't even. They wrong too, but they didn't believe in all these holidays. That's one thing I can say about them. But they wrong too. All right, but see, we don't know what. See, some of this stuff is rituals. These trees, this Yuletide, all this stuff is a satanic ritual, and it all leads back to Lucifer, Lucy. You see, even though Semiramis claimed to be a virgin, she had another son named Tammuz. Now look at that. Who was said was the reincarnation of Nimrod. You see? She became known as the Virgin Mother. All right, the Holy Mother, the Queen of Heaven. This is Semiramis. And was symbolized by the moon. She began the worship of Semiramis and the child god and the whole peripheral of the Babylon religious system. From various ancient sources, it seems that Nimrod's wife, mother, Semiramis, was high priestess of the Babel religion and the founder of the mystery religions as well as goddess. After the tower was destroyed and the multiplicity of languages developed, she was worshipped as a goddess in many different names. All right? She became Ishtar of Syria, Ashtar in Phoenicia, Isis in Egypt. For all you Hotep mummies, you're thinking y'all starting everything. No, all this stuff started from Nimrod and his mama. Y'all are talking about all this. Yeah, now we got the history right here. All right? Aphrodite in Greece, Venus in Rome. All right? In each case, the deity of sexual love and fertility. Her son Tammuz also came to be deified under various names and was a consort of Ishtar and the god of the underworld. You see? According to the cult of Ishtar, Tammuz was conceived by a sunbeam, sun worship, a counterfeit version of Yeshua's virgin birth. Tammuz corresponded to Baal in Phoenicia. Now look, this is what Tammuz. Tammuz is Baal in Phoenicia, Osiris in Egypt. You Hotep mummies. You're thinking y'all started something. Y'all ain't started nothing. Eros in Greece,
Cupid in Rome. See? In every case, the worship of those gods and goddesses was associated with sexual immortality. See? The celebration of Lent which had no basis in Scripture, but rather developed from the pagan celebration of Semiramis. Mourning for 40 days and the death of Tammuz. You can go to Ezekiel 8:14, and you can see that real quick. Let me read it to you real quick, man. Let me read it to you real quick. At the Lionsden Academy of Education and Information, we bring it out. We bring it out at the Lionsden Academy of Education and Information. Let's go to Ezekiel real quick. Let me see. Let me find that real quick. Hold up. Let me see. Oh, wait, it's already in here. Cool. It says, he said also to me, turn thee yet again, thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. See? See, the Most High was already up on it, telling us this is some bull stuff, man. You know? Turn ye yet again, thou shalt see greater abominations than these. All right? Ezekiel is communing with the Lord in a vision, and the Lord shows him these things. The Babylonians took Ezekiel to Babylon in the second invasion of Nebuchadnezzar in 597 BC. Subsequent to that, there was an additional invasion in 586 BC. Sometime after the second invasion and before the third invasion, the Lord showed Ezekiel the extent of the apostasy the Jews back in Jerusalem had fallen into. I'm going to read you one more paragraph. We're going to get back to the video. After the decline of Babylon, their priests fled to Egypt. These priests fled to Egypt, y'all. Come on, y'all. And transported their religion with them. See? These Babylonian priests fled to Egypt. There the people worshiped Isis and her son Osiris, otherwise known as Horus. The same mother and child deities appeared in Greece as Ceres, the great mother, with the babe at the breast, or as Irene, the goddess of peace, with the boy Plutus in her arms, and the pagan Rome as Fortuna and Jupiter. Other cultures embrace this concept, such as Syrian and Indian. All right, we're going to stop there for a minute, then we're going to get back to it. I'll read you something else here in a minute. All right, you're going to learn today. Here we go. Look at that. See? Abomination in the temple. The fruit which I have brought forth is the son.
That's what it said up under that deity right there.
Subscribe to this channel. I found what can only be described as reptilian
Come on in, Robert
symbolism
Rand.
right
Erica
at the
Monique.
heart of the Vatican, in the Pope's audience hall. So I thought I needed to dig a little deeper as to what this actually means and how to decipher the actual symbolism. So stay tuned as Dark brings you 5 symbolisms of the reptilian Vatican Hall. Number 5. First, some context. Yesterday I found a giant serpentine monument in the Pope's audience hall, namely in Pope IV's audience hall, or so it's named. The audience hall itself is made of reinforced concrete by an architect that was known for building bunker-like public structures, indeed monuments, out of concrete. It was built in 1977, so it's really old. In fact, it's been around there for a long time. But my first lead that something was strange was this window, and I said, that looks like an eye. It looks like a serpent's eye. So I dug a little deeper, and when I saw the audience hall from the back, where the back audience was seated, it really did take my breath away, since what was revealed was this right here. It is a giant, massive reptilian face shaped into the direct architecture. Everything from the slits in the eyes to the scales to the fangs, there was no mistake about it. But what's behind this symbolism? Slit-shaped eyes, and the Pope sit right in the middle of that shit. Well, number 4, look at where the Pope is seated. We see him here from the back of the hall, that is in fact seated in the mouth of the serpent or reptilian. In the very mouth. This is symbolic of the Pope being the voice of the serpent, in fact speaking the serpent's words to the audience. This might well shake your faith, as if you're a Catholic, which I was. I actually went to Catholic school myself and was an altar boy. But here you can see it in plain view. Clear symbolism, clear evidence that something here is extremely wrong. This image hasn't been photoshopped. This is real. This is built right into the architecture that was designed by those within the Pope's inner sanctum. But there is more symbolism. For this, though, we have to go outside. Number 3. Do you see anything strange here? You're looking at the hall itself. Do you see anything weird? Well, if you look carefully, it looks like the head of a giant snake. Right here. Can you see it now? Look at that. There go the eye, there go the damn head. You can see the snake's muzzle at the front, and you can see its eye. It just looks like a snake. To me, this is yet more connective symbolism that what's going on inside matches the outside. Because since here we can see serpentine architecture with ease. Number 2, let's head back inside and look at what the Pope himself sees. If the Pope is seated where he is, what does he see? Well, he sees a giant serpent with eyes once again. The audience is symbolic of almost the serpent's meal, and the Pope is not preaching to the audience under this symbolism, but the giant god. Because this is what the Pope sees. Can you imagine that when they were designing this, by mistake, that this is some kind of high anomaly? No, because they spent literally years on the designs. They definitely would have known what the Pope would have seen from where he was actually speaking. Also, what the audience was seeing. So this is very strange, and it raises some serious questions. What is going on in the hall? Number 1. But the biggest clue, the biggest symbolism that tells us something is really, really wrong here is in fact what is missing from the hall, not what is inside it. Do you know what that is? Here is a clue. Now, think of the heart of Christianity and think of what symbol it has, and think of what you do not see in this hall. You do not see any of it. That's right. There is no Christian cross. There is no cross in the entire building, at least no large statue, wall hanging, or anything.
Well, you know what? We ain't fooling with no Christian. We ain't fooling with no crosses. But let me show you something real quick about the Pope. All right. It says the zucchetti, which is worn by Catholic priests, cardinals, and popes, represent respect, fear, and submission to Cybele, the mother goddess of Rome. You see? Y'all thinking the Pope, Christians thinking the Pope got your back and all that. They leading you to somewhere where you don't need to be. The cap of Cybele, Cybele, for the ones who don't understand. What's up, man? It's one of the oldest. See? All right. The cap of Cybele is one of the oldest and most sacred pagan religious symbols of humanity, dating back to 2000 BT. The skull cap was worn by the sun priest of Egypt. See, a lot of this is adopted by, Egypt as well. See? All right? It's a thin, slightly rounded skull cap. Come on, Sister Carla, chill out with the in the group. She in the groups giving out information. All right, you're messing me up though. Hold up. All right. It's a thin, slightly rounded skull cap, now commonly known by various titles, including the Yamaki Jewish and Kufi Muslims. The Roman Catholic priests call it the Chedi. Vatican Hill was the site of the largest ancient temple to Cybele. You see, the Vatican Hill was the site of the largest ancient temple to Cybele. Astras, the goddess of fertility, sexuality, and war, was known as the Cybele in Rome. See, it's built on top of a site that they worship Astras. The Vatican Hill was the site of the largest ancient temple for Cybele. I read that. Astras, the goddess of fertility. The Bible warns us against worshiping her in Judges 10:6. Then the children of Israel again did evil. We always doing some evil stuff over it, ain't we? You know what I'm saying? Israel always doing some evil stuff. Mark Yehuda, Kareem Powell, Anthony Young. It says in Judges 10:6, then the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and served the Baals and the Ashras. You see? We always doing something. The Bible declares, for a man indeed ought not to cover his head, since he is an image and the glory of God. When you read this Bible, you see, it ain't completely covered. Sometimes you got a little back piece right here. But I like to take my hat off in respect of what I just read. You see? All right. That's in 1 Corinthians 11:7. All right. Let's see. The Mitri. Brothers. The Mitri hat was worn by Catholic priests, cardinals, and popes, and represent Dagon, the Babylonian fish god. See? Look. This is all pagan worship at the Good Lord, boy. These back chats be going off. I ain't lying. I love the people back in the back chat, though. But look, see? Y'all see that? Pagan influence. Okay. The ancient Babylonians worshiped Dagon, the god of agriculture, plenty, food, and good fortune. The Babylonian priests wore a headdress that represented the worship of Cybele. Cybele, Cybele. I never heard of Cybele. And Dagon. I heard of Dagon. It featured an open fish mouth on the head, and the rest of the fish body formed a cloak. You see? All right. In the Roman Empire, it was worn by the... Oh, my God. Hey, why don't y'all in the back chat go to start a call? That's what y'all need to do. All y'all in the back chat, start a call, because all these notifications is killing me. Start a call. If y'all listening right now, start a call. That's what you do. Everybody want to type all at once. All right. In the Roman Empire, it was worn by the head priest of Cybele, the Magna Mater, and the Great Mother Goddess. Today, the Catholic cardinals, bishops, and popes all wear this open fish mouth mitri, which represent the worship of Cybele and Dagon. You see? Y'all thinking that these people, these Catholic priests and stuff is for us? They lead you into pagan worship. Basically. That's what they do. All right. We're almost done here. Yahuwah warned that Jews not to worship the gods of Babylon. In Jeremiah 1:16, what do it say? I will pronounce my judgments on them concerning all their wickedness, whereby they have forsaken me and offered sacrifices to other gods. Offered sacrifices to other gods. You see? He warning you. And worship their works in their own hands. That's Jeremiah 1:16. All right. Now, ask yourself, why do Catholic cardinals, bishops, and popes all wear mitris of Dagon? That's what you got to ask yourself. All right, read you one more thing. We're gonna kick it back. The obelisk in St. Peter's Square represents the worship of the sun god. The obelisk, y'all see it? Yeah, you see it. All right. Now, I always tell y'all when you come into the Lions Den Academy of Education and Information, you take notes. You write the stuff down. I'm not going to always be here to tell you about this. You got to take your notes, write it down, take a picture, because this don't always work for you. Technology don't always work for you, so at least you got your notes. I got mine. You know? All right. Obelisks were prominent in the architecture of ancient Egyptians, who placed them in the entrance of temples, marking it as a zone of the sun worship. They represent the sun god Ra, the Egyptians' greatest deity, the creator of humanity, the source of all heat and light, the being of which man was totally dependent. All right? An Egyptian obelisk sits in front of the pantheon of ancient Rome, which housed statues of their pagan gods. The obelisk was originally constructed by Pharaoh Ramses II for the Temple of Ra in Heliopolis. It was brought to Rome in ancient times, where it was used near a shrine of the ancient god Isis, a goddess. The pantheon was dedicated to Pantheos, meaning all the gods. Pantheos, meaning all the gods. When it became the Roman Catholic Church, it was dedicated to the Virgin Mary and all matrices. All right, one more thing, and we're going to get back to the video. The Pantheon was dedicated... Okay, I read that. Right. The most well-known Egyptian obelisk was re-erected in 1586 AD in front of St. Peter's Balaskia. It is surrounded by the sun wheel, which y'all been seeing all throughout this video, which points lining up with the vernal equinox, the summer solstice, and the winter solstice. See what I'm saying? During the sunrise of the vernal equinox, the sun causes the obelisk to cast a shadow towards the dome of St. Peter's Basilica, which represents the sexual union of the sun god and the moon goddess. You see? All right. And here go God's second commandment, Yahuwah's second commandment. Y'all should not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness to anything in the heavens above, and that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You should not bow down to them, nor serve them, for the Lord your God, Yahuwah, is a jealous God. Exodus 24:5. You dig? Let's get back to the video. Let's get back to it.
There's no other real Christian symbolism either. There's no Virgin Mary, there's no Joseph the carpenter. There is indeed nothing anywhere. All of these symbols are missing. But you might say, what about that 10-ton bronze statue that's seated behind the Pope, where, as the Vatican states, Christ is being resurrected from a nuclear apocalypse or a nuclear bomb? To which I would say, this, I believe, is a direct corruption of symbolism. That is, they've taken the former Catholic symbolism of Jesus Christ, and they've displayed it in a corrupted manner, therefore corrupting its meaning. This is just not the way that you display Jesus Christ in any kind of Christianic religious order. You don't display Jesus Christ with massive wings on his back, rising up from an
Look at that. Look at this demonic. This is demonic. Look at this, y'all. I mean, are you serious?
Take a look.
Did y'all just see that, what I just seen? No. But watch this again. I mean, they doing too much. They doing too much. Pope, you're doing too much.
Religious
Look at this.
You don't display Jesus Christ with...
You don't display Yeshua HaMashiach like that. Look at this. Tore his whole head off.
Do this. Look at representations of Christ from the past, just to compare. Take a look.
Now see, they on some bull crap right here, y'all. We know damn well he wasn't no damn
Now you can
Hillbilly
see
Jim
that
looking
just
white boy.
huge,
They're going to have to cut this
here.
out.
Something is
They're going to have
profoundly
to cut it out.
wrong. I mean, this statue
But just bear with me.
weighs
Just
10 tons.
eat the
Just
meat,
looks
spit out the
like
bones.
some massive thing, like a boss from
Look
some
at this.
video game or something from some horror movie. You just don't display Christ like
Look at
this.
it, got his
And
head
also
busted up.
notice
Oh, that's his
Christ
hair.
appears
That's supposed to be
to
his
have
hair.
massive
Okay.
wings on his back. Half of his face also looks like it's missing.
I
Like he's
told you,
been
yeah.
heavily
See, have his
damaged
face
by the
tore off.
blast. Is this really how you display Jesus Christ? Ask yourself that. You don't even have to be religious.
I mean, they doing too much over at the Vatican. They doing too much, y'all. They doing too much. Patar Rich, Amon, welcome to the Lions Den, family. Now I know you more into Egyptian stuff. Now I just showed you some information about the obelisk and you know how the Babylonians came into Egypt and taught y'all some of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? You need to go look it up for your history for yourself. Cause see, some of y'all went around. And shalom, Sister Kareem. Some of y'all running around thinking that y'all done started something. Y'all been learning from other cultures as well. Cut it out. Cut it out, Patah. Actually, Patah is a Semitic root word. Patah, Aman, amen, is a Semitic root word. It's not even Egyptian, but that's for another day, another time. All right? Semitic root word, Patah. Your name, Patah, is a Semitic root word. Go look it up.
Just look at history and compare. So what is happening? Well, I don't know, but I'm going to continue to dig. You can be sure of that. But I think that this is significant and something really big has been revealed here. Something was found at the end of this trail of breadcrumbs, which started at a small pizza shop a month ago and led us all the way to the Vatican. Anyway, go out there and decide for yourselves. I don't want to tell anyone what to believe. At the end of the day, you have to judge for yourself.
These Catholics
It's
wicked,
really
man.
the only way to always
They get mad at me all they want. I'm just bringing you the
answers.
truth.
In the meantime,
I didn't make the
please
video.
give the video a like if you did
Look,
like
look at
it.
the
That would
snake.
help me out a great deal. And let me know and others what you think in the comments section. Share any leads you have. I think right now, at a time like this, it's important to stay informed and crowdsource our ideas. In the meantime, this is Ed from the Outer Dark, and until next time, guys, I'll see you later.
All right. He see you later. You see? Oh, let me show y'all one more video. Anybody got any questions? Type it in the chat. We can go from there. All right. Let's see. Hold up. Excuse me, y'all. All right. Let's check it out. Pagan origins of Christmas and traditional history. Let's see what they're talking about. Watch this. Watch this, y'all.
Is there a standoff brewing in your home? Can't agree on a traditional coffee maker versus a single serve? Steer clear of a showdown with the Cuisinart Coffee Center and have the best of both worlds, all with one appliance. The single serve brewer.
Nah, we don't want to see all that, man. Look at it. See? Yep. No. This video look a little too old for me. Flash some lights over. I want to give a shout out to Y'all 777, Brew News, Information Age, Black Jesus Ministry, and Radio, Maccabees TV. I ain't even gonna give a shout out to Sarnetta because he be giving me some airplay. There you go, Sarnetta TV. Look. Y'all worshiping Saint. Look at this, y'all. Patah, I sure hope you ain't got your Christmas tree up. I'm gonna check you out December 25th, see how quiet you is. I think you drinking eggnog and stuff, brother. I don't know, Patah.
It's a story everyone knows. After a rude refusal by a local innkeeper, Mary and Joseph bedded down in a barn in Bethlehem. The next day, Mary gave birth to a...
First of all, Christ wasn't born in wintertime. Let's just get that straight from the gate. All right, let's go.
The Son of God. Those are the biblical origins of Christmas. But centuries before Jesus walked the earth, early Europeans were celebrating light and birth in the darkest days of winter. In the Norse country, this winter celebration was known as Yule.
See?
Around December 21st, the winter solstice, fathers and sons.
See, these pagans, they worship, these pagans, these Wiccans, they celebrate winter solstice, spring, what's it, spring, winter. See, a lot of this is like I say, pagan in origin, but they've been adding it to the Catholic Church. You see what I'm saying? To combine everybody, because it's all about money. It's all about commercialization. It's all about that money. If we can bring the pagans and the Christians all into one setting, one assembly. See? Do your fingers like this. Look at your neighbor and do like this. How they do in church? Look at your neighbor. Look at your neighbor. See, y'all assembling with me. Look at your neighbor and do like this. This is what it's all about. With these Catholics. Hey, Constantine put all y'all together. You see?
Sons would drag home the biggest log they could find and set it on fire. The Yule log warmed, but it also looked ahead. Each spark was said to represent a pig or calf to be born in the spring. Also dragged inside were evergreens, the one plant that could make it through a Norse winter. Evergreens proved that life persisted in this dark time.
There's a natural attraction to that which lives through the winter when one is struggling to survive through the winter. The evergreen is that part of nature that seems impervious to the coming of winter and the diminishing of the sun. And so it's an absolutely natural symbol, one which I think you react to almost without thinking about.
For as long as the Yule log burned, about 12 days, feasting and revelry reigned supreme. In fact, this was one of the few times that meat was abundant, since cattle had just been slaughtered for the long winter.
There is a necessity to kill most of the cattle alive over the winter when there's nothing to feed them on. You keep a few alive for breeding. But there is an opportunity for a great blowout, for a great feast, time to party.
The party raged inside in defiance of winter's deadly howl.
There is a spooky feel about the northern Yuletide festivals. You may be all right there in the hall with the blazing fires, but outside there are demons, there are spirits.
In Germany, the pagan god Odin lent his name to this midwinter holiday. Early Germans were terrified of Odin, whose nocturnal flights decided who would prosper in the coming year. Later, we'd see another Christmas sky rider, Santa Claus. Inside became the smartest choice at this frightening time of the year. 1,000 miles away in Rome, winter...
Wait a minute. He said the eggnog got rum in it, G. Hey, do what you do, family. At the end of the day, hey, I don't care what you believe in. If a war kick off and you look like me, I got your back. Real talk. Real talk. That's funny. Go ahead, let's keep it moving.
But the December festivals were just as elaborate. 1 week before the winter solstice, Romans began celebrating Saturnalia, a month-long orgy of food and drink. Named for the god Saturn, which meant plenty, Rome's established order was turned on its
freaky orgies, y'all.
Delirious time.
The Saturnalia celebrations were certainly times of revelry, of turning the social order upside down, of having the master pretend to be the slave and the slave pretend to be the master, sort of a time out of time in which one could celebrate a kind of disorder in the universe.
One of the holiday's important feasts was Juvenalia, which celebrated the children of Rome.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Although these
I ain't never heard no Juvenalia. This is new to me. Juvenalia. Let's see what they talking about, y'all.
Necessarily about children particularly, but they are about fertility. Children did have their particular place. The indulgence of children, of course, is very much a part of our modern Christmas. But it did have its place even in these ribald, drunken festivals that the Romans had.
Among the upper classes in Rome, solstice celebrations were significantly more sober. Many influential Romans worshipped Mithra, the god of the unconquerable sun. Powerful sect, the birthday of Mithra was the holiest day of the year.
December 25th was the winter solstice in that part of the world, and it was also understood to be the birthday of the sun god Mithra. And Mithra was said to be born from a rock. Shepherds came to worship him because he was an infant god.
They talking about Mithra was born from a damn rock, y'all. They said Mithra was born from a damn rock. I done heard it all today. Mithra was born from a rock. Are you serious? A rock? These pagans something else, ain't they? Ain't they Israel? They something else.
Pastoral places.
And the crazy part,
fields.
A lot of us back then when we got around and we would start practicing some of these practices. I mean some of the stuff these holidays. This is why the Most High God was mad at us, because He's a jealous God. What are you doing, worshiping somebody who said they was born from a damn rock? Are you serious?
And many of those stories, of course, have come into Christian tradition.
While Romans were worshiping the sun god, a new religion was taking hold throughout the empire. At first, Christians didn't celebrate the birth of Christ. His resurrection was the essential fact of the new religion. By the 4th century, however, the question of the holy birth became impossible to...
I don't know who the hell this is supposed to be, but they need to cut it out. Is that Caesar Borgia?
Ignore.
They need to cut it out.
There were questions within the church about how to even imagine Jesus. Some people believed that Jesus was purely a spiritual emanation of God, and others believed that...
But certain... probably was not in December.
Right. If you're going to sort through the runes
What's
of the
going on,
scriptures, Jesus was probably born in the spring, as the shepherds are out in the fields watching their flock by night. We're not talking about one of the cold spells at the heart of winter.
If pagan Rome was already celebrating the birth of Mithra on December 25th, it seemed natural to honor the birth of the Christ child at the same time. By the 4th century, the church made it official. December 25th was declared the feast day of the Nativity.
But of course, it's a very short step from the feast day of the risen sun, S-U-N, to the feast day of the risen sun, S-O-N. So, in a sense, it's a very good choice that the symbolism is there, because the feast day of the unconquered sun was about fertility, about birth, and so obviously it's the Christian Christmas.
The church knew it could not outlaw the pagan traditions of Christmas, so it set out to adopt them. The evergreens traditionally brought inside were soon decorated with apples, symbolizing the Garden of Eden. These apples would eventually become Christmas ornaments. And holly, a traditional midwinter decoration, was recast to represent Christ's crown of thorns.
People had their own agenda for this season, and that agenda was not one that was really radically changed when the names got changed from non-Christian to Christian names. The church policy of live and let live. If people would call themselves Christians and do lip service to the birth of the Savior, then let them do anything that they wanted to do with it. But on the other hand, by assigning the nativity to that time of year, the church really gave up the opportunity to control the way that celebration took place.
The tension between piety and revelry at Christmas would reach its logical and extreme conclusion in Puritan England, when the holiday would be considered so un-Christian it was done away with altogether. By the Middle Ages, Christianity had largely replaced the old pagan religions of Europe. On December 25th, the faithful were called to Gothic cathedrals like Notre Dame and Salisbury Cathedral in England for Christ's Mass, soon to be called Christmas. But out in the streets, the holiday was still more raucous than religious.
If you went to England around Christmas time, any time before, say, 1800, you'd probably feel pretty ill at ease. You wouldn't think it was Christmas at all. What would you think it was? Maybe Mardi Gras, maybe New Year's Eve, maybe Halloween? Because Christmas in old-time England was really a carnival.
The houses of London were littered with brawling, drunken villagers and couples in the most unholy activities. And each Christmas, a beggar or steward was temporarily put in charge after being crowned the Lord of Misrule. The rest of the peasantry also got their once-a-year chance to grab power from the ruling classes.
They would go around to the houses, they would bang on the doors and demand entry, and once they were let in, the lord of the manor had to give them the best stuff that he had. He had to give them his best food, he had to give them his best beer, his best of everything. But if he didn't, they would threaten or actually perform a trick. One surviving Christmas song says, if you don't give us what we want, then down will come butler, bowl, and all.
If you draw us a bowl of the small, then down shall go butler, bowl, and all, bowl, and all.
Some historians think that it performed the role of a safety valve. You might say that a wealthy man could make up for an entire year of small or large injustices to the poor by giving a generous Christmas handout just once in a year.
The rules of Christmas would soon change, however, as a wave of religious reform swept through England in the early 17th century. Led by Oliver Cromwell, the Puritans overthrew the king's forces in 1645 and vowed to rid England of all that was decadent. High on their list was English Christmas, and in 1652 they outlawed it altogether. Shops were ordered to stay open. Churches were forced to stay closed.
The Puritans were always, I think, deeply attracted to those things that they were most opposed to. Might have too good of a time. I don't mean to trivialize them, but there was a deep fear that if these things were legalized, they themselves might enjoy them. And
the Puritans may have said good riddance to Christmas, but the people never really stopped celebrating it. The holiday merely went underground. If Christmas pie was illegal, it began to be known as mince pie instead, which was just as delicious.
the deeper need for Christmas in the human heart, the need for celebration at a time of darkness, those needs made the battle against Christmas, gave it a few temporary wins, but it couldn't possibly secure a final victory.
In 1656, the men of Kent and Canterbury passed a resolution saying that if they could not have their Christmas day, they would have the king back on his throne. They soon got their wish. The monarchy was restored with Charles II, and Christmas was restored with him.
Look at that.
It seemed the
They love some Christmas. All right. Let me get a little bit of information on the 8-pointed star. In Babylonian symbolism, the goddess Ishtar is represented by 8-pointed starburst, and she is associated with the planet Venus. All right. Ishtar was a Babylonian high mother goddess, the goddess fertility, love, war. Her cult was the most important one, in ancient Babylon. An 8-pointed star enclosed with a circle in the symbol for the sun god, as it points, represents the solstice and the equinox. All right? The Babylonian star cult is the core and architect of subsequent astrology. You see? At the center of the St. Peter's, the old Catholic Church, Basilica, the Pope sits in the middle of the 8-sided star. See? The Pope is all with Babylonian sun worship. All right? All right, let me see. Okay, now the multi-cross represents Shamath. The multi-cross represents Shamath, the god of the sun and justice. See, 7,000 going to bring it out for y'all. For you babes in the truth. All right? The image of the ancient Assyrian king is wearing a cross on his chest, just like the one seen in the Pope robe. See, hold up. Let me blow it up for you. You see? Shariagar Yasharala, you see? Sister Adia Danielle, you see? Look. This paganism is what's connected to what we got going on today with this Christmas stuff. Look. Same thing, y'all. All right? They ain't playing. Shamuth, the sun god symbol. But see, they got these people fooled thinking that the Pope is representing, this here, the Bible. It's a damn lie. All right? They kicked me off last year for bringing this out. I'm ready for you this year. I got 5 different Facebook pages. Kick me off if you want to. I ain't going nowhere. All right? Let's see. All right. In the image of the ancient Assyrian king is wearing a cross on his chest, just like the one seen in the Pope's robe. Shamash, Akkadian, Samah's son, was a native Mesopotamian deity and the sun god of the Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian pantheons. Shamath was the god of justice in Babylonia and Assyria, corresponding with the Sumerian Uta. This cross was identified by the sun god 8 centuries before Christ, and long before it was called the Maltese cross by the Knights of Malta. All right? You're going to learn today. Now ask yourself, why does the Pope wear a cross of Shamash, the sun god? Why? All right? You're going to learn today. Now we're going to learn about pine cones. Symbolism, the worship of the solar god Osiris. Ptah, you're going to learn about pine cones. You see? Watch this. Pine cones are associated with the spiritual enlightenment by the ancient Babylonians, the Egyptians, and the Greeks. They represent the mysterious link between the physical and the spiritual worlds. The physical and spiritual worlds. So you little Hotep brothers need to stop lying and talk about they don't believe in spiritual worlds. They don't believe in spirituality. They don't believe in these gods. Talking about, oh, everything is just a principle. That's a damn lie. Cut it out. Cut it out. Which can be found in the human brain and the pineal gland. All right? The pine cone staff is a symbol of the solar god Osiris and originated in Egypt, where he was their Messiah. Ptah.
Osiris was their Messiah. Because think about it. If you follow Ma'at to the day you die and your heart is lighter than a feather, lighter than an ostrich feather, you get to go past. And when you in the judgment halls, when you get ready to get judged according to the Egyptians, and you get to go past the devourer, he don't eat your heart up, and you get to go past and go to the afterlife. You're going to be in the afterlife with Osiris. That's what they taught. That's what they believed. Osiris. So the pine cone staff is a symbol of the solar god Osiris and originated in Egypt, where he was a Messiah who died for his people and whose mother Isis was worshipped as a virgin mother. The Vatican also has the world's largest pine cone that once decorated the fountain of ancient Rome next to the vast temple of Isis. See the Pope with the pine cone? See? See? Look at that. All right. Now, at the old St. Peter's Basilica, Basilica, that's how you pronounce it. Basilica, Basilica. It was dedicated to Attis, son of the lover of Cybele. Remember, that's the mother goddess. The Catholic Church then relocated and is now called the Vatican Court of the Pigna. Ask yourself, why do the popes use pine cones, which symbolize the solar god Osiris? You see? All right. Revelation 13 says that Satan, the dragon, gives authority to the Antichrist beast. The Bible calls Satan the great dragon who deceives the world. Let me read it to you. So the great dragon was cast out of the serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceived the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Revelations 12 and 9. You see? Revelation 13 tells us that the Antichrist beast is empowered by the dragon who deceives the world. Watch this. So they worship the dragon who gave authority to the beast. Oh, come on, man. Who gave authority to the beast, saying, who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Revelation 13 and 3. All right? Now ask yourself, why does the Catholic Church use images of the dragon, which represents Satan? There's a dragon. The dragon. Why the Catholic Church doing this? The dragon. See? The dragon. Why is the Catholic Church doing this, Johnson Tony? Shargabar Yasharala? Why? Okay. This is displayed at the Vatican, some in the crest of the popes. See, some of these are in the crest of the pope. We're going to finish the video. I'm going to do about 5 more minutes of this video. I'm going to cut it off because I got something I need to do. All right, let's go. Let's go. Take notes.
English could live without a king, but not without Christmas.
It has been argued that one reason for the restoration of the monarchy is because by restoring the monarchy, you also restored Christmas, or restored the proper English Christmas with its rituals, its traditions, and its carousing. Christmas is brought back, if you like, by popular acclaim.
The fight against Christmas may have been lost in England, but the Puritans had high hopes for the new colonies in America. In 1620, a small group of separatists came ashore at Plymouth, Massachusetts. Even more orthodox than their English cousins, these men and women hoped to rid themselves once and for all of the Christmas scourge. In 1659, Puritans in Boston followed their English brethren in outlawing Christmas. Anyone caught exhibiting the Christmas spirit was fined 5 shillings. Like in England, however, Christmas remained impossible to contain. The 1719 Boston Almanac doesn't list a Christmas holiday, but it does recommend that in late December you not let your children and servants run too much abroad at night.
From almost the beginning in Massachusetts, there's evidence that some people practiced Christmas, and that when they did so, it was in fact an opportunity to get drunk. And one of the most interesting little sidelights on this is the finding of historical demographers that there was actually a bulge in conceptions, the conception of children, that took place during Christmas.
Not all the colonies had such trouble with Christmas. Captain John Smith, leader of the Jamestown settlement in Virginia, wrote that their first New World Christmas was kept with plenty of good oysters, wild fowl, and good bread. Jamestown settlers were also the first to drink eggnog as a Christmas drink, the nog coming from the word grog, which means any drink made with rum. After independence, however, all things English fell out of favor in America, Christmas included. In fact, on December 25th, 1789, the United States Congress sat in session and continued to stay open on Christmas Day for most of the next 67 years.
At the same time, there are people who are that, isn't it too bad we don't have any holidays? So after the revolution, here is an entire nation, works hard, has forsaken many holidays, has given up many holidays because they were holidays that were mandated by the crown, and it is time to start thinking about how to populate the calendar.
As the 19th century dawned, Christmas would be one holiday that would pull the new nation together. But it wouldn't be the carnival Christmas of old England, nor would it be particularly religious. America would invent its very own Christmas, and in the process, reinvent it for the whole world.
See, there you go. See? Now, they didn't invent it the way they want to celebrate Christmas. Y'all see that? Y'all see it? All right, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. Let's go. That's enough of that right there. Mm-hmm. Let me give you 9 minutes of Saturnalia. 9 minutes. Here you go.
Most people think of Verizon as a reliable phone company.
But to businesses, we're a reliable partner. We keep companies ready for what's next.
I don't want to hear that, man. That time of year.
Saturnalia was one of the oldest and most popular Roman festivals. It began on December 17th, but grew over time, and by the imperial period, ended on December 23rd. On the first day of Saturnalia, everything in Rome shut down, and people were expected to forego their normal attire and instead wear plain, simple tunics. This included senators and magistrates and candidates for office, men who normally wore specialized togas, proudly displaying their status. Similarly, everybody from citizen to freedman to slave was supposed to wear a special leather cap that was normally worn by freed slaves to denote their status. They went to all this trouble because during the festival, the strict formality of the class system was temporarily thrown out the window. The entire theme of Saturnalia was to upend the social order and to celebrate liberty. To begin the festivities, a large crowd gathered at the Temple to Saturn on the Capitoline Hill. Saturn was a god with a very complicated history and a lot of different associations, including with the Capitoline Hill, with wealth, with agriculture, and yes, with liberation. For most of the year, for reasons that are lost to us, the statue of Saturn outside the temple had its feet covered with some distinctive wool wrappings. these wrappings were removed by some priests, which marked the official beginning of Saturnalia. By the way, we're told that this statue was actually hollow and filled with olive oil, which is kind of neat. With the festival officially underway, a priest performed a sacrifice before the crowd. After this, members of the Roman Senate came forward. Somewhere nearby, there was another statue of Saturn, this one made of wood, carved specifically for this festival. Senators picked up this statue and carried it down to the forum. The crowd followed. After a time, they arrived at an outdoor banquet area. The senators placed the statue on a large reclining sofa that had been set aside for it. Then, with Saturn lazily overseeing the whole thing, there was a massive feast and the wine began to flow. After the feast, there was usually some gladiatorial games, where all of the different classes co-mingled and rubbed elbows. Like everything else, the games were supposed to continue the theme of upending the social order. For example, they sometimes featured women or dwarf gladiators. It was all meant to be funny, but it's worth saying that some Romans found these blood sports distasteful and stayed away whenever they could. My boy Cicero, for instance, hated them. Now, on a normal day, the gladiatorial event would have ended, the sun would have went down, and that would have been it. But on Saturnalia, they were just getting started. Rome's streets were normally dark and dangerous to navigate at night. But today, it was lined with decorative candles and torches. People took full advantage of this, and many partygoers stayed out all night. Customary to loudly greet friends, strangers, and passers-by with the call and response, "Io Saturnalia." This was ubiquitous, and some Saturnalian Scrooges would say that they got pretty sick of hearing "Io Saturnalia" from drunken idiots outside when they were trying to read or sleep. Speaking of drunken idiots, it was also customary after the sun went down to host parties continuing the festivities. Once inside, a person was selected randomly, more or less, to be something called the Saturnalicius Princeps, which you can translate as the King of Saturnalia. The theme of overturning the social order continued, so this person tended to be a child or a slave. Custom demanded that any command given by the King of Saturnalia had to be obeyed without question. But it was all one big joke, so the commands tended to be things like sing a song, or do a dance, or everybody drink. The parties would continue with people drinking, playing games, and gambling all night. There were normally some legal restrictions on gambling, especially with dice, but these were all temporarily lifted for the duration of the festival. Even slaves would get in on the gambling, sometimes with their owners. If a group couldn't afford to bet actual money, it was quite common to bet nuts instead. People talked endlessly about how they were looking forward to the Saturnalian nuts every year.
See?
Apparently, it was a thing. I mentioned slaves, and we should probably pause here for a minute. The whole theme of Saturnalia was liberty, and slaves were an important part of that equation. Many social norms regarding slaves were disregarded for the duration of the festival. For instance, perhaps the most famous factoid about Saturnalia is this: slave owners would jokingly swap places with their slaves and serve them dinner. But let's not get too carried away with this role reversal. It seems that the more common practice was for the slaves to eat with the owners on equal footing, and for the owners to get up and serve the food themselves. In this way, you can kind of think of Saturnalia as an opportunity to give the slaves some time off, although that analogy is imperfect, since they were still on the hook for preparing the food. But in keeping with the spirit of the holiday, slaves were also allowed to without any fear of repercussion. But everybody knew that the whole thing was in the spirit of fun, and I couldn't find any actual examples of slaves going full Festivus and staging an airing of grievances. It seems more likely that owner and slave temporarily dropped the formality and spoke to each other as equals. That all happened on the first day of Saturnalia, but celebrations continued for a full week. The next day, the parties and gambling and drinking continued. On December 19th, the third day of Saturnalia, there was another little holiday called the Feast of Opalia. The purpose of this day was to honor Saturn's wife, Ops, who was a goddess of the harvest. There had already been one festival devoted to Ops at the end of the harvest season, and now, in December, there was a second one, celebrating the bounty contained in the granaries. By the way, Ops is where we get the English word opulence. On this day, the cautious hoarding of food for the winter was abandoned, and there were huge feasts.
Look.
The nature of Saturnalia meant that people were already eating and drinking as much as they wanted, but nobody seemed to mind having an excuse to kick off another round of parties. Another important aspect of Saturnalia was the exchange of gifts. These were usually small items like toys or books or diningware or exotic foods. The most popular gift of all was something called a sigillaria, which was a small humanoid figurine made of wax or clay, basically a doll. During the month of December, specialized shops would pop up all over Rome, where you could have a sigillaria custom made and personalized as a gift. From what we can tell, the number of gifts exchanged was staggering. Basically, during Saturnalia, everybody expected to receive a gift from everybody they knew. And not just a gift, but also a short personalized note or a poem. Gifts were evaluated, and if somebody was caught sending a cheaper gift than they did last year, it was a problem. God forbid somebody send a gift and get nothing in return. Imagine, mistakes happened all the time, and people took note. On top of this, people took time during the festival to go door to door, visiting with neighbors and acquaintances. Small, generic gifts were expected to be given to anybody who came knocking, which added an additional level of complexity to the whole thing. Between all the gifts and personalized notes and partying and gambling, so much stuff was involved with Saturnalia that people would spend most of December just getting ready for it. Eventually, Saturnalia ended and life returned to normal. But before I let you go, let me share with you some short epigrams written for Saturnalia by a guy named Martial in the 1st century. Here's what Martial had to say. Nobody can be more luxurious than Charisianus. He walks about during the Saturnalia in a toga. In sending you neither silver nor gold, eloquent Stella, I have acted in your interest. Whoever makes great gifts wishes great gifts to be made to him in return. By my gift of earthenware vases, you will be released from such an obligation. The dish which you usually presented to me at the Saturnalia, Sextilianus, you have bestowed on your mistress instead. And with the price of my toga, which you usually gave to me on the 1st of March, you have bought her a green dinner robe. Your mistresses cost you nothing. You enjoy them at my expense.
All right. That's enough of that. That's enough of that. Because, see, the real season is the Feast of Dedication. You see, that's what we need to be talking about. Real talk. Let me read you a little something. All these advertisements when you post, I hate that. We're gonna go to First Maccabees 4:41 through 48. Shout out to the Maccabees Warriors. Shout out to them. You see what I'm saying? When they stood up, they weren't no punks. They wasn't scared. I ain't gonna lie, it seems like the spirit that some of us Hebrew Israelites got now, it's like scared to speak out, scared to fight. But that's just what it is. All right, I see. I ain't gonna talk too much about it because I don't want to be labeled as a terrorist. All right. 41. Then Judas ordered some of his soldiers to attack the men at the fort while he purified the temple. These little nasty heathens, they went and disrespected our temple. You know, they had swine and they was sacrificing pigs and swine, knowing that we against all that, right? He told some priests who were qualified and who were devoted to the law. See, this the reason for the season. Feast of Dedication. See? They purified the temple and took the stones that had been defiled and put them in an unclean place. You hear that? They purified the temple. They got all the filth up out of there after they took over. And they took the stones that had been defiled and put them in an unclean place. They discussed what should be done with the altar of burnt offerings, which has been desecrated. You see what I'm saying? They came and disrespected us by the Gentiles and decided to tear it down so that it would not stand there as a monument to their shame. So they tore down the altar. 46. And put the stones in a suitable place on the temple hill where they were to be kept until a prophet should appear and decide what to do with them. 47. Then they took uncut stones as the law of Moses required and built a new altar. They got rid of that altar and built a new altar. Everybody want to call when I'm doing my live. Chill out. They repaired the temple inside and out and dedicated it to its courtyards. They made new, 49. They made new utensils for worship and brought the lampstand, the altar of incense, and the table for the bread into the temple. So they can cleanse it out. 50. They burnt incense in the altars and lit the lamps on the lampstand, and there was light in the temple. 51. They placed the loaves of bread on the table, hung the curtains, and completed all the work. 52. I'm doing a live right now. Whoever calling me, could you please just hold off for a minute? I'm almost done. I will call you right back. The 25th day of the 9th month, the month of Kislev, in the year 148 was the anniversary of the day the Gentiles had desecrated the altar on that day, a sacrifice was offered unto the new altar in accordance to the law of Moses. The new altar was dedicated to the hymns were sung to the accompaniment of harps, lutes, and cymbals. 55. All the people bowed down with their faces to the ground and worship and praise Yahuwah by giving them victory. You see what I'm saying? And this is historical fact. You can look it up. They talking about the Bible fake, we ain't got no proof. Hold up. Okay. All the people bowed down with their faces in the ground and worshiped and praised the Lord for giving them victory. For 8 days they celebrated a rededication of the altar with great joy. They brought burnt offerings and offering fellowship offerings and thank offerings. So this. Oh man, people need to stop bothering me when I'm doing my live. I don't get. They know, and especially the ones that know I'm on here live. I just got off the live chat with a bunch of people. The back chat. They know I'm on here doing live, but they want to call me and ask questions. I'm almost done. I promise you. It ain't enough for me to go around. You know what I'm saying? Hey, 7,000 is a requested individual. All right. Let's see. They decorated the front of the temple with gold crowns and shields, rebuilt the gates and the priest rooms, and put doors on them. Now that the Jews had removed the shame which the Gentiles had brought, they held a great celebration. Hallelujah. About Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Barakatah. You see? We bringing glory. They brought glory back to the temple. They got the filth out of the temple. They got the filth out. This is the reason for the season. The Feast of Dedications. What they call Hanukkah. Not no Feliz Navidad. Not no Merry Christmas, if you're a Hebrew Israelite. None of that stuff. This the Feast of Dedication. This is the second day. Celebrate for 8 days. In remembrance. That's what we should be focused on. Because that's what we want our battle. We got that filth up out of our temple. You see? Not none of this old pagan Santeria, Christos, Isis, Tammuz worship. None of that shit. Tear that goddamn tree down. You go to your relative's house and you kick down the tree. Throw it outside. They might not like you no more after that, but it's going to help them. Because it's a ritual. It's a ritual. It's a ritual. It is a ritual. And this is something that we need teach our people to stop doing. With that being said, hey, Jeremiah Judah 7,000 going to sign out. Shalom Barakatah. 1.